Hello, everybody. Okay. So what am I supposed to be doing here? So, switch utilization, VH and LV. That's something that needs to be explained to you. That being said, I don't have a Natonix on hand. Well, I do, but it's still in use right now and I have to take it out of service before I can do this. And trust me, it's coming out of service because it's a piece of dog shit. Alright, so that being said, something to note when you're working on switches, it doesn't matter what brand it is, because as you guys know, what do I want? As you guys know, we have a few different PoE standards we deal with. That's going to be explained in another video. When I say that there's a few different standards, when we're working as a WISP and small telecom, typically, I'm going to put this right on top here. We're talking LV and VH passive PoE. Now what is that? Let's go. Okay, so LV is essentially two pair. So you're talking your blue and your browns are your power carriers, regardless of the fact that it's gigabit, because it's technically what we like to call phantom power in the industry. Discussing PoE. So that's not happening tonight anyway. When you've got a switch like that, VH means that it's using four. It's using four pairs, so it's using green, orange, blue, and brown to power the equipment. Now, the big difference here is that when you're talking two-pair power, it can't deliver as much current, of course, because of limitations of the gauge of the cabling, because light gauge cabling has a tendency to bleed because of the resistance of the cabling, and the more current that goes over it at a lower voltage means that it's gonna Alright, so for that reason, we've got these switches here. This is going to be my Natonix stand-in. Oh wait, no, I do have a Natonix, hold on. This is a good little demo piece because I literally blew it 2 days after I bought it. And I spent 300 Canadian shekels on this, and I tried to send this Natonix back to the vendor that I bought it from, and they said that they can't accommodate that, and I've got to RMA it directly to Natonix. Really? Because last time I tried to send a switch back to Natonix, they said it would be months, and I'm sure most of you guys know that. So this was $300 that I literally set on fire.
Oh, it's on fire!
But anyway, so what I'm going to say here is that if you look on the top of this guy here, it's going to demonstrate. I'll bring this over so you guys can see. I'm still working things out in here, remember that. I don't have all the time in the world. Okay, so you can see on here, you see how it's got the red and it's got the green? Okay, so we've got 24 volts. 24 volt, 4 pair, 48 volts, 48 volt, 4 pair, okay? That is demonstrating, let's see here. So we've got, it looks like ports, I believe it's the first two on this guy actually. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what, realistically, I've just got to log into this and let me refocus this now. I apologize if it's not. But anyway, so this is where you need to be mindful. You know what, I just got an idea. I'm gonna put a poster here and then I can cheat. If I have to focus, I can focus it on the poster. So anyway, yeah, I'm using manual focus. Why? Because I suck at photography. When I say you need to be mindful, if you're hooking up a backhaul as an example, like anything that draws a lot of power, like a Mimosa B24 or B11 or I don't know, an Airfiber 11 or an Aviat radio or anything that draws a lot of current. Typically backhauls tend to draw a lot more power. You'll find that most of the higher end equipment will work on 48 volts. Most of it will work on 48 volts LV, so 2 pair. And some of it will actually require 48 volts 4 pair. But again, most of it will do 48 volt 2 pair. Because 48 volt 2 pair will give you roughly 40 watts, about 38, 36 watts, right? On some of the better switches, well, I shouldn't say better, on some of the different switches here, it has the ability to give you a solid amp. And also, you won't be putting 48 volts, you put out 54. So technically 54 volts at 1 amp is 54 watts, right? You see where I'm getting with that? So then you've got equipment that can actually run on that. I'll give you an example of where this can backfire. So if you've got an Airfiber 5X HD, for example, I know many of you guys will say, oh, I've run it on a Powerbox Pro at 24 volts. Well, guess what? A lot of times when you really start to push high duty on that, like 100% duty cycle, and really start pushing a lot of traffic through it, the CPU starts to consume a lot more power and they can have a tendency of crashing or rebooting. And so then you get into these horrible reboot loops where it'll crash, come up, traffic will ramp up, and then it'll crash again, right? So that's obnoxious. So the way that you resolve that is simply running it either at 48 volts LV, so 48 volt 2 pair, or 4 pair 24 volts. That's how you run that. So that's where we go back to being mindful about the switch. these switches have specific ports that are designated to be VH or LV. So if that's the case, you have to be sure when you're planning to set up your switch that you plan the utilization of the ports appropriately. You really got to make damn sure that you save those VH ports specifically for your higher draw radios, which are typically your backhauls. You'll find that most last mile equipment, most of the stuff you guys are using, unless it's a Medusa, typically don't draw a ton of power, so you can run them on the 24 volts, 1 amp, or 780 milliamp ports, right? Yeah, so again, like I said, the VH you reserve it for backhaul, and then you use the LV for your last mile, for your access points. So that's what you really have to be mindful of with these switches here, is know your power on your switches, okay? Another thing is yeah, these guys are kind of right in the sense you want to ground the shit out of all of them, okay? All right, so there's another little quick tip for you guys today. Just the tip.